Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump straight into it, all right? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating blog post from a developer named Ang. We are going to look at a surprisingly common directory management bug. But, more importantly, we'll see how fixing this one little bug completely challenges everything you probably thought you knew about the Haskell programming language. Seriously, if you're a developer, or honestly even just someone curious about how code is put together, you are going to find this incredibly insightful. Right off the bat, Ang calls out the elephant in the room. I mean, we've all heard the notorious myth, right? That Haskell code is just inherently unreadable. It's got this reputation for being overly academic, super dense, and packed with obscure mathematical symbols. And honestly, that's exactly the assumption Ang brought into this project. So that brings us to the core question. Is that gnarly reputation actually justified? Well, to find out, we are going to break down a real-world micro-case study together to see if Haskell's code can, actually achieve elegant readability. Let's find out. Okay, moving on to Section 1, the overwrite problem, a console app catastrophe. So here's the setup. While working on a Python console app called TXT to ebook, Ang ran into a totally classic bug. Get this. The converted files were straight up overwriting the original source files if they happen to share the same name. Yeah, yikes. This kind of destructive behavior meant Ang absolutely had to shift to a safer architecture, basically routing all those outputs to a designated default folder instead. Which brings us to Section 2, designing a safer architecture, and the 3 distinct benefits of the new design. You see, routing your outputs to a dedicated folder instantly solves 3 massive developer headaches. First off, it completely prevents all that running directory clutter. Second, it totally neutralizes that dangerous overwrite bug we just talked about. And third, it makes cleanup an absolute breeze. You literally just delete the single output folder and boom, you wipe the slate clean. This simple structural logic paves the absolute perfect way for our Haskell implementation. All right, let's look at Section 3, the code refactoring, from problem to solution in Haskell. Now, this shift in strategy is incredibly clear right in the imports. The old approach just relied on really basic extension manipulation. It was literally just dropping an old extension and slapping on a new one. But the new approach, it brings in the heavy hitters from System.Directory, like create directory if missing. Plus, it utilizes System.FilePath to pull base names and construct the path safely. It's a total game changer. And when you map those imports to the actual logic, it reveals just a beautiful transformation. Notice how the old method crudely slapped a _converted extension onto the string. The new logic is so much better. It elegantly takes the explicit directory path, uses the / operator to safely insert an output folder, and then adds the base name. It safely routes the file exactly where it belongs, no questions asked. Now for Section 4, elegance in explicit naming, the hero of directory management. So here is the real hero of our explainer today. Create directory if missing. Notice how it doesn't rely on obscure symbols or weird cryptic acronyms. It uses plain, explicit English. It tells you exactly what the program is about to do, reading almost like a standard sentence. Anselite here completely busts that unreadable myth we were talking about at the very beginning. As this quote highlights, when developers lean on well-designed, explicitly named functions, like the ones in the System.Directory module, Haskell actually achieves a beautiful functional elegance. It totally proves that Haskell isn't inherently unreadable. Instead, readability comes down to the intentional choices of the developer and, actually utilizing the well-named tools the language provides. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about the projects you're working on right now. If leveraging explicit, plain English naming conventions can take a notoriously complex language like Haskell and make it this beautifully readable and safe, how could applying that exact same principle transform your own code? Because honestly, no matter what language you happen to be writing in, clarity is always a choice. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.